relate the process to dating. So I know there's some parents on here and things, and might resonate better with the older folks like myself. But that first time you hold hands with a significant other, those endorphins kick off, and the butterflies and the excitement, and oh, you feel just wonderful. And it's like the first time a college coach is calling or texting you, not to the same degree, but those same endorphins are going firing because of the, oh my gosh, I'm important. And so that's where I say to the older folks here, think of the mistakes we made when we were kids. That we're like, oops, why did I date that person? I thought they were great, but we actually had a bad relationship. And as you learn older, you learn those things of being able to identify and be more discerning. And I think, like, for the student athlete to be discerning and be critical of the person you're talking to, the thing that, Coach Roy's seen my CV, and it's like, I've never had a kid say, how are you going to stay here? Now, I didn't come to Blinn to think I was leaving in such a short fashion, but there's a lot of reasons why. I volunteered at a lot of places, and the place that I'm going, I believe it's a destination. Like, I'm already looking to buy a house, and that's a different thing than like being in a place where I would say the last 4 schools I worked at, I had no lease. There was nothing that tied me there. Now, I wasn't always looking, there were different factors, but I've never had a kid go and look at my bio and go, man, you've been a bunch of places. Like, are you going to stay here for the whole time I'm here? And that's kind of the discerning thing, because I could be upfront and say, I plan on it. Things can happen. I'm the assistant coach. I used to be the head coach, and I plan on being the head coach again. But no one's ever asked that question. I always found that very bizarre, that no one was ever asking me that. And to be able to ask those questions are pretty important, because, Jadiel's kind of seen it already, and but not to the great degree. But I'm at every study hall, I'm at every training session. In the fall when we travel, I was the one on the bus. And so, like, in the fall, the guys probably saw me about 40 hours a week. If you don't like me, it's not going to be a fun experience. And so building those relationships and knowing that you're going to spend a lot of time with either or both the head and the assistant coach. The guys just tend to spend more with me here, because the head coach coaches both teams and actually travels independently. So he's not on the bus. So there's like little factors there, but so they spend a lot more time with me currently at Blinn. And if you don't like me, well, that's going to be so those are things to figure out when you're going through the process and asking questions, is like, how can I find that right fit? How can I, because, like, I'll use an example of one of my old schools. People will say, and I've been in, Blinn and Brenham, Texas. I don't consider it a small town, 20,000 people. I don't consider that small. Some people would say it's small because they're from Houston. It's the 4th largest city in the country. Or they might be from New York, and New York City, and oh my gosh, Brenham, Texas is so small. And then I'll chuckle and I'll say, I'll take you to this town. I won't throw them under the bus. I'll take you to this town where there's about 1,300 people. And there was a college there with 300 students. And I used to ask kids at that school, how important is Walmart to you? And everybody thinks Walmart's on every corner in the US. But in this situation, it was about 45 minutes to an hour drive on a country road to another state that was in another time zone. And it was so rural, the Walmart closed at midnight. And then their heads would explode, and they'd be like, oh my gosh. Or they would say, I don't care. And I remember this kid just really like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I would do. And I said, no problem. There's a school out there for you. We're not the fit. Don't you want to recruit me? No. And he's begging me to recruit him because he needs validation. And I said, but you're not the fit. I'm not wasting your time, because if I persuade you to come to my school and you come, you'll be miserable. And kind of the moral behind that, and finding the place that is the right fit for you. Prior to this class that I brought in for about 12 years, been very unsuccessful, like 2 to 4 wins a year. The previous season, the team went 2 wins, 16 losses, and in 18 games gave up 83 goals. They were the epitome of not good. One of the worst teams statistically in the NJCAA. That one class, became the 16th ranked team for 5 weeks and was the second most improved win-loss team in the country. And that's where some of those boots and some of those jerseys and others around my office came from, because those players did so much. I only returned one starter. All these four-year schools came calling, oh my gosh, and like all of a sudden off he goes, national championship, he's an All-American, Sweet 16, all conference, on and on. Like, I think from that team I had 7 players go to the Sweet 16 at minimal at their four-year school. 7 of my 11 starters. 2 of them just went to four-year schools because they got a full academic ride. So they left soccer. So it's like finding the fit, because I found people who they didn't desire the distractions. And for me, that was a perfect scenario to where I had a team who was really focused and really driven, and it fits me, because I know some friends and they know as I'm going through this transition, I usually talk to them regularly and they're like, probably not going to hear from you for a few months. Yep. Because I will get so involved and invested in the current players and bringing in new players. All that spare time I had is gone. And, even since I went to visit, which was on Tuesday, I've been sleeping about 4 hours a night. And it's like up late, maybe not up so early, but I'm up really late, because there's a lot of time zones in the world. Like, I know when I was messaging, like, what time is it exactly? I wanted to make sure I was on at the right time. My phone has got probably about 7 or 8 different time zones in different countries around the world, because I'm talking to people all the time. Now it's a lot more intense because it's just a different scenario. And, the commitment that one person has to have to do something is, one person's a lot different than another. And so that's when I'm saying all this, not to scare anybody. It's more of a informational, you can find the right school. If you absolutely want to live in a big city, they exist. If you want to be in the mountains, that exists. If you want to be by the beach, that exists. Coach Roy and I were talking about some of the Caribbean players, and I was like, I don't know why all these people want to move up to the New York area and the Philadelphia area. Like, I lived long enough in Cleveland and Pittsburgh and other places in the Northeast that I'm like, I'm over that. It's a nice experience for about a week in the winter to see snow, but I don't want to see it for 3 months. But it's not my decision for people. I coached a team in the Northeast, and I had a player from St. Lucia, Trinidad, Dominica. I had a Brazilian who, there's different parts of Brazil, but like, these players had never seen snow. And we get this absolutely deluge of snow, and it's like hilly, city. They've never seen snow, and the roads are slippery, and like cars are getting stuck. And here these guys are pushing these cars, and I'm like I have experience doing it, but I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're just loving it. They're out there in their track suits and their tennis shoes. They don't have winter boots or anything. They're out there just having a ball. And it was a experience of a lifetime for them. And so like, that's where, like, no matter where I've been, I've always known I can find the people who are the right fit. They might not know my school exists, because there's about 1,300 men's college programs in the USA. And there's over 1,400 women's college programs out there. There's all kinds of opportunities and all kinds of successes and lack of successes. And you could be at a school that's self-sustaining, and you can be at a school that is inner city. So you can find anything. It's a matter of finding that. And sometimes I think there's more coaches doing a better job of being resourceful. But there are still a lot of coaches who aren't, so they need help finding people. I would say one of the suggestions that I tell you the group here is, and I know last week you showed like video and profiling and things. One of the biggest things, you got to have video. I love, and I'm saying this with sarcasm, I love when a kid emails me and says, oh, I'm so and so, I want to come to your school. If you're interested, I'll send you my highlight. You're an athlete, right? Like, interest me, at least provide it. And that's a mistake. Another mistake is to say, "Dear Coach Johnson, I really want to come to your university," when my name is Coach Rudy and I work at a college. If they get my name wrong or they say the wrong type of school, I know it's copy and paste. It's a form, and there are certain things that are always going to say the same. But I'm always really connected and intrigued to the people who don't just say, "I saw you had a good year," but know something about what made it different, or know something about either what I've done at Blinn or what I've done at another school. An example, I was at the school in Georgia, and actually I've got the Montreat jersey behind me. And so I'm at this junior college, and this kid emails me and says, "I see you were at Montreat College during these years. And during that time, my sister played on this other sport." And I actually knew her because I actually had to rush back here because I was at the basketball women's game and the men's had started. I'm like, "Ooh, got to get out, got to leave, say goodbye to some people." I go to other sports. And so I knew who this girl was, and I immediately picked up the phone and called this kid. I didn't even finish reading his email. He knew something about me, had seen something in my bio, and then connected the two. And I was like, that was enough for me. It's not necessarily enough for everybody, but if you can personalize it truly, not just Blinn College and you guys broke 35 school records this year, both are true, but make it something that is really personalized, that's going to intrigue the coach. Because honestly, in a week by week basis, I get between 50 and 200 emails. And like, how do you separate?
Coach, can I ask for excuse for a second? Not be rude, Coach. I just gotta ask you just to rewind a little bit, Coach.
Yes.
You just give some very, very important information pertaining to information that is being sent to you and how the information is being sent to you. I just don't want us to go over, just dive over, go over the heads, Coach. As a coach in the collegiate level too, I get the same thing, but I want you to drive that point home because I know a number of people right now are hearing it from me alone. And I want them to hear it again from you, Coach, so they have a better understanding. So sorry, Coach, but I know we are cut from the same cloth, so I know you're gonna go get it.
Yes, absolutely, and it is a vital thing. There's even been an example, right, that I've seen that happened at Blinn. I know one of the families involved in this. So there's a player who's already committed and signed to Blinn, and this other kid, the day of the signing, emails and says, "This is who I am, the level I play at, here's my highlight, here's my GPA, I'd like to come to Blinn." Cool. That didn't say they're the best friend of a girl who just signed. I knew that because I know the family of the one that signed. I don't coach the women here, but I just, in a weird way, I knew. And I'm like, what in the world? Because like the mom of the girl who signed is like, "Oh, her best friend just applied, da da da." So I had different information, and I'd tell the women's coach like, "Hey, this is the deal. They're best friends." Like, if the girl had done that, that might have piqued some interest, because the girl's already here. Like, she's not here, but that's a big mistake. Use those things to really be key. Make sure that you research. I'm going to actually tell a story that might drive this home. There was an American football player. This is years ago. He was at a prep school in the Northeast. Not a sports prep school. Some prep schools are all about athletics. This was an academic prep school, like go to Harvard from this school. Well, he wanted to play NCAA Division I American football. It's not easy. He's at a place where the football team stinks. It's not geared towards being an athletic school. And he was really miserable, and he was kind of out of shape, and he did all these things off the field to get himself fit and be really committed and run by himself and challenge himself and get in the weight room. But no one's looking at him. No one in the country, no scout, no scholarship. And it's past this, all these things that have passed for football. And what is he doing? This is back a long time ago. We'll relate to this. VHS tapes, not DVDs, not YouTube links. these boxy things that actually weighed something. And I don't know how many NCAA Division I college programs there are, but there are hundreds, several hundred, not to exaggerate, but let's say 300, 400, or 500 schools. He writes a personalized handwritten letter to every coach in the country and puts them in envelopes with the VHS tapes and mails them to every school in the country. Every single one of them was personalized. Why he would fit and what, he saw with the program and how they might have had 3 people in his position, but not 4. And he figured all this stuff out and he was obsessive with it. One school offered him. And one of the things that actually kind of irritates me, and I don't know if it does with you, Coach, one of the things that irritates me is I see these kids like, I got my 7th offer. I want to thank Coach Roy for the 7th offer I received. I'm not interested in that kid. All of a sudden, it switches me off because I only want you to be interested in me. I only need you to be a fit with me. If you want to go, like one kid's like, please make me an offer. I want you to be the first one to offer. No. I don't want you to use me as leverage. I'm only making you an offer because I really want you to be here, not as leverage to find some other school that you're more interested in. But it's the research this guy did. He got one opportunity and he ended up playing in the NFL and won 2 Super Bowls. Only needed one opportunity. But like being very wise to, you can talk to a coach and say, I've got other schools, you're in my top 3, or I'm not really sure, but you don't need, I personally, and I know some other coaches who really, it grinds their gears to be seeing that publicity. Now, there are coaches out there who all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, and they'll try to contact you. I think those are the lazy coaches personally, or the desperate ones that are like, oh, I found this kid who other people like, so I must like them too. I know when I was at a Division I school, we would drop hints that we were interested in somebody, knowing that one of the other conference teams would offer them. And we didn't want the player, so we'd make hints and they would come running after. And it's like, cool, we know that kid has character problems. And they would think anybody who was coming that we were interested in had to be great because we were going to contend for the conference, and they weren't. And so they would go after the scraps. And it's like, so then we would like basically throw a chum in the water, like to bring the sharks. So it's like, it's a hard lesson, but my guidance for everybody is really to be really specific. And also, like, you can only be specific if you know what you want. Because one of the questions I always ask everybody, what are you looking for? I want to continue playing. I want to go to school for business. Okay, but where? Like, what kind of school? Well, I don't care. And then I'll give the example of my old school. Oh, no, that wouldn't interest me. Well, you said you didn't care. You do care. And it's like, come up with a bucket list of things you can't live without when you go to school. And then you can target that area. Like, I always struggle with kids who like say only wanted to go to school in Texas. I mean, there's a lot of schools, but it really limits your options. But if that's the desire, then you can spend all of your energy in that area, in that one thing. If you only want to go to Division III, let's say, you can contact every school in Division III. There's ways to do that, but when you do it, make sure you contact the coach by name. You don't have to keep reiterating the school's name and the mascot and all that stuff, but make sure you do it early. And then provide a phone number. Different divisions can contact you different ways, but provide your social media handles and make sure you don't have garbage on there. I kind of think I said it last time, and like, be you, but my recommendation is don't have garbage on there. It really limits your opportunities. But provide a phone number. Provide, obviously, if you're sending an email, your email's there, but just give it to them anyway. I'm a visual person. Like, really, I'm a lot better with faces than names. And so like if I had, and I think like you saw my CV, coach, like my headshot's on there. You know how ugly you are if I reply for a job. Um, I'm there, and I don't hide from that, but it's also, I know I'm visual. And so I like to know who people are. And then like if I go to a game, this is the honest thing, like a glamour shot is not going to do it for me. Because if I come to a game, that glamour shot is not what you're going to look like as an athlete. You know, a good picture of you as an athlete that you would look like on the field will help me show up and pick you out. Because yeah, like I've gone to tournaments and showcases, and it's like they've got 2 number 8s. Which one's John? Oh, John's not here this weekend. We had to pick up a guest player. Great. But if I had known what John looked like, it been a lot easier, right? I'll be like, John, that's not John. Because I watched the whole game one time trying to figure out which number 8 was this kid, and well, he wasn't even there. By the way, he didn't happen to tell me, even though he told me, invited me to the game. That's the thing. If you're inviting coaches, it's a little different. But if you are communicating with coaches and then things change, it's really important to stay in touch. This doesn't, unless there's people in America, I guess probably wouldn't be that impactful. But I got invited by a club coach, an American club coach, to come to one of their games. I drove 12 hours for a singular game. Get to the complex and I'm looking around, where's this team? And don't find him. I'm trying to call the coach. He's not answering. So I just go, well, there's another team over here. It's like a third-rate club. I drove 12 hours. Might as well watch a game. So I watched the game, and at halftime, my phone rings, and coach, he's, oh, sorry, coach, we moved it across the city, which was an hour drive. So even if I left right then, at the beginning of halftime, I would get there after the final whistle. And he's like, but just spend the night and come to our game tomorrow. And I was like, no chance. You wasted my time. And I would never recruit a kid from that club because he had invited me and then changed the location without ever informing me, thinking, man. And it was like that disconcern for other people. And honestly, like, to me, what I've discovered over the years and really learned is like, if players play for that person, the saying goes, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And so I'm going to get a player who isn't concerned about other people, is not organized, and so on and so forth. And then they come to my college, whether it be an hour away or 17 hours away, and they're not organized and they're not caring about other people. It's going to be a bad experience. So those are, but I'm going to hit on that. Like, make sure you tell you that you directly communicate with the person. Because I've had it. I'm going to give you a real good example. It happened, I think, when I was at the division, it was at the Division I school. And I decided to respond to this kid because he says, oh, I really want to come to such and such school. Like, was not our school. I responded and said, well, good luck. You might want to email them because yeah, I don't work at that school. So good luck. I hope you get the spot at that school, but you should email him. And he responds, he goes, no, I really want to come to your school. And I forget, he like didn't use my name. It was like something was wrong in 3 straight emails. And I was like, not having fun with it, but I was straight annoyed. But I was like trying to help this kid without just like call him, because I couldn't. The rules were different. So, but it's like, he just buried himself. He said he wanted to come to our school, but he was telling me that he wanted to go to another school. And so it's like, the form email is dangerous. We've all been guilty of copying and pasting. And so you'll get really good at it if you're emailing a lot of people to basically have anything below that first paragraph can be your form. This is who I am, it's the position I play, this is my GPA, those kind of things. That first paragraph, you should write fresh every time. That's my guidance to that, is you can make that first bit of what you know about the school, the coach, what interests you about it, and write it fresh every time. Don't try to fill in the school name because you will mess up. You know, don't try to fill in the coach's name because you will mess up. Those are some things. And like, I do that. Like, I was recruiting for the UWS, which is a pro development collegiate league. on the women's side. And I ended up bringing in like 45 girls. And so like there would be this section of the text message that would be general information, but I was always start off and type, "Dear Sarah, you know, love how you played at such and such school against so and so." It was all fresh. And then it was like, "Here's who we are. And let me know if you're interested or when I can set up a call with you." But I always made that first part personal. And in that way, you'll touch somebody and you'll get somebody's attention. And you won't be like, because I delete 99% of those who come in that are wrong, because just it's kind of a sign to me, and I'm going to miss somebody in that pile. I know that, but I'd rather miss somebody than bring the kid in who is going to turn homework in like that.
Hmm. Hmm.